Ready for a little time travel?
I always am.
We might not have a time machine, but today's deep dive, well, it's going to transport us to a place where centuries of history are kind of built right into the walls.
Sounds fascinating.
It's the Bopiliao Historic Block in Taipei.
Ah, I've heard of that.
It's like a living museum showcasing Taipei's journey, from the Qing Dynasty all the way through Japanese rule and then into the Republican era.
You know what I find really fascinating about Bopiliao? It's not just like observing static remnants of the past. It really has this energy of a living neighborhood, even though it's historic.
It does.
Imagine like strolling down these narrow lanes, brushing past these buildings, and they're almost whispering tales of bygone eras. It's incredible. And by the way, this deep dive is extra special because our AI application coach, Zach, he curated it for you.
So we're hitting all the good stuff.
You got it.
Well, before I get lost in a daydream, I mean, I'm already picturing myself there, but let's get practical. How do we actually get to Bopiliao?
Getting there is easy, especially, well, if you're in Taipei, you know. It's in Wanhua district.
Okay.
Lane 173, Kangding Road, just a stone's throw from, well, I guess pretty famous landmarks like Longshan Temple and Losong Elementary School. And even better, super easy to get there by MRT, Taipei's MRT system. You just hop off at either Longshan Temple Station or Ximen Station, and you're basically there.
Sounds easy enough.
It is.
And this is the best part. Entry is completely free.
That's always a bonus.
Soak in the atmosphere Tuesday through Sunday. The streets are open till 9 p.m. and the exhibition hall's till 6 p.m.
Perfect.
Now let's talk about what awaits us visually. Bopiliao is, well, an architectural feast.
I've heard that.
Showcasing a captivating blend of styles that kind of mirror the different eras that shaped Taipei.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, let's start with the oldest layer, Qing Dynasty.
Yeah.
What kind of architectural treasures can we expect?
So imagine you're stepping back in time, okay, to the Qing Dynasty, and you're encountering these traditional Minin-style shophouses. They have this, the characteristic front shop, back residence layout.
Right.
And they really offer this glimpse into, well, the daily life of the merchants and families from that era. But what's really interesting is the use of, I guess, unconventional building materials. So instead of like the uniform bricks that you might expect, you'll find structures built with bricks of, well, they vary in size, almost like they're, repurposed from different buildings. And it's a really resourceful approach that adds this, it just adds a unique texture and charm to the architecture.
It's amazing to think that those seemingly random brick sizes actually reflect, a certain era approach to construction. It's like a hidden language almost.
It is.
And what about those massive wooden beams, the Xiaoliang beams? I mean, they must play a key role.
Yeah, for sure. Those Shophouses beams are often crafted from, well, really sturdy timber, and they were essential for supporting, the weight of the roofs and the walls. And just their presence speaks to the craftsmanship and the ingenuity of the builders during that time. And if you look closely, you'll notice intricate joinery techniques that connect those beams without using, nails or metal fasteners.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty incredible.
It's like a giant puzzle, all pieced together meticulously.
Yeah.
And then there's this unique building technique called huokuki. It almost sounds, mythical. Can you enlighten us?
Hukuki. It's also known as corbelled brickwork. And it's this fascinating technique where basically each layer of bricks slightly overhangs the one below it.
Okay.
And that creates a very sturdy and I think very aesthetically pleasing archway. So imagine a series of steps, but they're made entirely of bricks, gradually narrowing as they rise to form a, kind of graceful curve. And you'll find these archways over doorways and windows, adding a very distinctive touch to the Qing Dynasty structures.
It's fascinating how these seemingly simple techniques created such enduring and visually appealing elements.
Yeah, sure.
And of course, we can't forget about those cross-shaped ventilation windows.
Right.
Long before air conditioning, these windows were so clever, maximizing airflow and keeping the interiors cool and comfortable.
Yeah, and those windows are more than just functional. They're like these intricate works of art. And you'll notice different patterns, different designs. They really showcase the creativity and attention to detail that went into even the smallest aspects of these buildings.
So we've traveled back to the Qing Dynasty, explored its architectural treasures, but time marches on. Bopiliao also bears the imprint of the Japanese colonial era. What kind of stylistic shifts occurred?
So as we transition to the Japanese colonial era, you're going to notice a distinct change in the architectural landscape. And this is where you encounter what they call the Peilukuo houses. And these are a really fascinating blend of Japanese and European styles. So picture this. Delicate Japanese wooden elements combined with, grand European arches and columns, creating this unique hybrid style
Wow.
that really reflects the cultural fusion of that era.
That makes me wonder about similar architectural blends in other parts of Asia, during periods of colonial influence.
Mhm.
Were there any parallels, say, in Vietnam or Indonesia?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There are intriguing parallels across Southeast Asia where, colonial powers left their architectural mark, but they also kind of incorporated local design elements. So, for example, in Vietnam, French colonial architecture often incorporates like traditional Vietnamese roof lines, maybe decorative motifs. Similarly, in Indonesia, Dutch colonial buildings, well, they feature a lot of Javanese or Balinese elements. So
Yeah.
it's really fascinating to see how these different cultures interacted and how they express themselves through architecture.
Yeah, it's like a global conversation, I guess,
Okay.
expressed through bricks and mortar.
It is.
I'm particularly intrigued by the Tingzi that emerged during this period.
Yeah.
These wide arcade spaces, I mean, I'm picturing they must have transformed, like the streetscape, even social dynamics.
Oh, they did. They did. So the Tingzi, which are essentially covered walkways, were kind of a hallmark of Japanese urban planning at that time. And they offered, shade from the sun and the rain. So they created these really comfortable spaces for people to gather and interact. Imagine like strolling along these arcades, maybe browsing shops or just having a conversation with friends.
It's like an early version of a shopping mall, but so much more charming.
Oh, for sure.
Speaking of charm, I've heard about like Baroque ornamentation on some of these buildings. That seems like a surprising addition to the Eastern architectural style.
It is a bit unexpected. So the Baroque ornamentation, with the elaborate curves, the decorative flourishes, that was a very popular European style that kind of, I don't know, it found its way onto the facades of some of these Eastern structures. And it just goes to show how architectural styles traveled and they were adapted across cultures.
It's a reminder that even during periods of, colonial influence, there was still room for creative expression and this kind of cultural blending. So we've journeyed through the Qing Dynasty and the Japanese colonial era. We've witnessed a pretty fascinating interplay of architectural styles. Now let's fast forward to the Republican era and see how Bopiliao embraced modernity.
Let's do it. As we enter the Republican era, Bopiliao kind of embraces this whole new architectural language, reinforced concrete.
That's a big shift.
It is. And it signals this departure from, the traditional methods, and it really paves the way for some, well, pretty innovative designs.
I can see how reinforced concrete would open up a world of possibilities for architects. Did this new material lead to, I don't know, any significant changes in the types of buildings in Bopiliao?
Oh, absolutely. You'll notice, like, a rise in multi-story structures.
Oh, okay.
Which is a pretty clear departure from the, mostly single-story buildings from earlier times. And this vertical expansion, I mean, it makes sense, right? It reflects the growing urban density and, the need to use space more efficiently.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And also, keep an eye out for outdoor staircases.
Okay.
It was a pretty novel feature that became, well, pretty common during this time. And they provided access to upper floors, but they also just added this dynamic element to the facades.
I can imagine those outdoor staircases becoming like social spaces themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Places for neighbors to chat or, kids to play.
Totally.
What about those? I've seen pictures, those semicircular bay windows.
Oh, yeah.
They seem to add a touch of, I don't know, elegance and modernity.
They do, they do. Those bay windows, they're a delightful detail, and they offer panoramic views, and they just flood the interiors with natural light. They reflect a growing appreciation for, well, both aesthetics and functionality, in building design. But here's the cool thing. While these Republican-era buildings embrace modern elements, they often have these subtle nods to, well, the architectural styles of previous eras.
So it's not just like a sunny break from the past, but this thoughtful integration of new ideas.
Exactly. It's like this conversation between the past and the present.
That makes me wonder, does this approach to architecture reflect a broader cultural shift happening in Taiwan at the time? I mean, were there
Yes.
similar trends in, I don't know, art, music, literature?
That's a great question. The Republican era was a period of, well, really significant cultural transformation in Taiwan. It was a time of experimentation, exploration. And you see echoes of this blending of tradition and modernity in various art forms. So, for example, traditional Chinese painting techniques, well, they were being fused with Western perspectives and styles. Similarly, Taiwanese literature, you saw the emergence of new voices, new themes, reflecting that changing social and political landscape.
It's like this cultural tapestry
Yeah.
being woven with threads from different eras, different influences.
Exactly.
Okay. Before we go any further, I'm curious about the name Bopiliao. I mean, does it have a special meaning, or is there some historical significance?
So the name Bopiliao, it's believed to have, well, several possible origins, and each one offers a glimpse into the area's past. One theory links it to the abundance of camphor trees in the area.
Mm.
And bopi can be interpreted as peeling bark, and that refers to the process of, stripping the bark from these trees for, well, for various uses, including medicinal purposes. So it's a really fascinating link to the natural environment and how it kind of shaped the area's identity.
So the name itself evokes history,
It does.
connecting us to like the natural resources, the industries, the things that once thrived there.
For sure.
And speaking of history, I understand that a really significant event in 1941 played a crucial role in preserving Bopiliao as we see it today. What happened?
So in 1941, Bopiliao was designated as a school site.
Okay.
And this decision, well, had a huge impact on its architectural fate. It basically led to a building freeze. So that meant no new construction, no major alterations were allowed.
Wow.
So imagine an entire neighborhood frozen in time, protected from modernization.
Like a time capsule.
It is.
Inadvertently created, just preserving this slice of Taipei.
Exactly.
But I'm curious about the long-term effects of this freeze. Did it have any, negative consequences?
That's a great question. And it's an important thing to consider. While the building freeze definitely played a role in preserving Bopiliao's, its historical character, it's important to acknowledge that it also came with, limitations. For example, residents might have faced challenges making repairs or updates to their homes, and the area might have missed out on some of the economic benefits that come with, modernization development.
So it's a reminder that preservation efforts, while they're important, need to be carefully balanced
Yeah,
with the needs, the aspirations of the community.
definitely.
Thankfully, the story doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
A preservation movement gained momentum in 1998, and that led to this remarkable restoration effort that was completed in 2009.
You're right. The community really recognized the historical and cultural value of Bopiliao, and they rallied to protect their heritage. They understood that those buildings, they weren't just bricks and mortar. They were tangible links to their past, their stories, their identity. And the restoration, it involved meticulous research, careful craftsmanship, and, well, just a deep respect for the original architectural details.
It's heartwarming to hear that the community played such a key role in bringing Bopiliao back to life.
It is.
Okay, so what can visitors expect within Bopiliao's walls? Are there museums, exhibitions, or, other attractions?
Oh, Bopiliao's more than just a bunch of historic buildings. It's a dynamic cultural space. And you'll find permanent exhibitions that delve into, well, various aspects of the area's past.
Okay.
So, for example, there's an exhibition dedicated to, the settlement's development. It's like a visual timeline. And then there's this fascinating exhibition that recreates scenes from, like, traditional shophouses.
Oh, cool.
It's like stepping back in time.
I love those immersive exhibits.
Me too.
They make history come alive.
Yeah.
What about, the everyday lives of the people that lived and worked in Bopiliao?
There's an exhibition focused on early commoner life.
Okay.
And it offers glimpses into, the everyday routines, the customs, even the challenges. You'll see how they dressed, what they ate, the tools they used, even the games they played.
It's those details that make history relatable.
Definitely.
I'm intrigued by the exhibitions on local education and early medical culture.
Oh, yeah.
They seem like they offer some unique insights.
Yeah, so the local education exhibit showcases the evolution of schooling in the area, like from traditional methods to, more modern approaches. And it really highlights the importance placed on education.
That's cool.
Yeah. And the early medical culture exhibit is, well, it's really intriguing because it explores traditional Chinese medicine practices.
Okay.
You'll learn about the herbs, the remedies, the techniques used to treat various ailments. It's a really cool blend of like folklore, wisdom passed down, and this connection to nature.
I'm already picturing myself wandering through those exhibits. But knowing that Bopiliao also hosts, special events, it adds another layer of excitement.
Yeah, so Bopiliao is not like this static museum, It's this vibrant cultural hub that embraces creativity and contemporary expressions. So you might see art exhibitions featuring, photography, painting, calligraphy, showcasing established and emerging artists. They also have exhibitions of student creative works.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, giving the next generation a platform.
I love that. What about film?
If you're into film, they have film and cultural exhibitions, and they often showcase like classic Taiwanese films, documentaries, even experimental works.
Like traveling through time, not just through architecture, but through, stories on screen.
Exactly.
And for those who want, like, a more hands-on approach to learning, there are those educational programs.
Yeah, those are designed to engage visitors of all ages, all interests. So they might have workshops, lectures, or even guided tours that focus on a specific, aspect of Bopiliao's history or culture.
All right, listener, you're probably ready to book that flight to Taipei right now.
Yeah.
And luckily, Zach has some expert tips to help you make the most of your visit. So, Zach, you've given us the inside scoop on navigating Bopiliao itself, but let's zoom out a bit. What else is there to see in the neighborhood?
Right. Bopiliao is actually in a neighborhood that's, really rich in history and culture and, yeah, even some adventurous eats.
Okay, lay it on me. What are some must-sees for our listeners who are planning a Taipei trip?
Well, you can't miss Longshan Temple, one of Taipei's oldest, most revered Buddhist temples.
I've heard of it.
It's just a short walk from Bopiliao, and it offers this, glimpse into the spiritual heart of the city.
Okay.
It's really something. The intricate carvings, the vibrant colors, the scent of incense. It creates this atmosphere that's both serene and, awe-inspiring.
I mean, it's a must-see.
It is.
Regardless of your beliefs, it's
Yeah.
a beautiful, testament to the city's spiritual heritage. Before we move on, though, any etiquette tips? Visiting a temple in a different culture,
Right, yeah. It's always good to be, sensitive and aware. At Longshan Temple, it's customary to dress modestly, so avoiding revealing clothing.
Okay.
And you want to remove your shoes before entering the main hall.
Got it.
It's also considered respectful to speak quietly and to avoid pointing at, the statues or religious objects. And, if you see people praying or performing rituals, it's best to observe from a distance.
Just be respectful.
Exactly.
Got it. Now, for the more adventurous eaters out there, I hear there's a night market nearby that's not for the faint of heart.
You must be talking about the Huaxi Street Night Market.
That's the one.
Yeah. It's famous for its, traditional Taiwanese street food, including some delicacies that might, challenge your taste buds.
I'm ready for the challenge.
Are you? Think stinky tofu, fried pig's blood cake, even snake soup.
I might have to work up to that one.
That's fair.
But what about, maybe someone wants something a bit more, on the traditional healing and wellness side of things?
Oh, well, then you should check out Kongkao Lane. It's this narrow little alleyway that's famous for its traditional Chinese medicine shops. It's it's sensory overload in the best possible way. The aromas of herbs and spices, it's incredible. You'll find shops selling all sorts of things, dried roots, fungi, mysterious powders, tinctures.
Sounds interesting.
It really is like stepping back in time.
Okay, and lastly, for a total contrast to Bopiao's historical charm, I hear there's a very modern district nearby.
Oh, yeah. Ximending.
That's it?
The heart of Taipei's youth culture and, shopper's paradise. Things like bright lights, trendy fashion, bustling restaurants, karaoke bars, all packed into this pedestrian-friendly zone.
So you can time travel, basically.
You can.
And then experience, the energy of modern-day Taipei all within a short distance.
Pretty much. It's amazing.
This has been, an incredible journey.
It has.
I can't wait to experience it all for myself.
Me too.
It's a reminder that travel is more than just, checking off landmarks on a list. It's about immersing yourself in different cultures.
For sure.
Exploring, tasting.
Yeah.
Bopiliao, it's like, a perfect example of how a city can preserve its past, but also embrace the future.
It is.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into Bopiliao Historic Block. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and that maybe it sparked a little desire to explore it yourself.
Me too.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more deep dives on, fascinating Taiwanese destinations.
Until next time.
Happy travels, everyone.